Welcome to the Next Step Fantasy Football Podcast, where we help you take the next step in your fantasy journey. Here's your host, Jake.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Next Step Fantasy Football Podcast. My name is Jake, like the intro says, and I'm again joined by my friend Jordan. Jordan, how you doing?
Wonderful.
It's good.
Happy Halloween. A little belated Halloween. Hope everyone had a nice time.
It's been a minute.
Yeah, it has. But it's good to be
Life.
back on a beautiful Saturday. Ready for week 9.
Ready for week 9. How's the fantasy season looking for you right now?
You know, I gotta say, it's one of my strongest across all leagues. There's always a league that's like, oh, you do really well, and there's a league that things fall apart. I would say my average is higher than it's been.
Both of us are killing it in that auction league we did.
Correct, yeah. The auction league, I think I've lost once. Our big money league, I actually just broke 500, which is very nice.
Oh, is that called being really good across the board that you broke?
No, that's 500? But I'm saying that's like my worst league right now. My worst league is I'm above 500, so I'm saying the average is good.
Yeah, I'm not enjoying as much success. I'm gonna be honest. I'm right around 500 in almost everything, except the auction league. 8-0, baby.
Yeah. All you have to do is make the playoffs. That's what
true.
I keep saying. Just
gotta get hot at the right time.
Yep.
We appreciate you guys being around. We're live on YouTube, youtube.com/Next Step Fantasy Football Podcast. It's been 3 weeks? 2 weeks? 2 weeks? 3 weeks?
Yeah, we missed 2 weeks.
We missed 2 weeks because, life. I bought a car. It's just stuff. So,
yep.
If you're here with us, why don't you drop something in the comments. Let us know you're here. If not, which is fine. I hope you're listening to it later on. I figured we might not have as many people in here. It's a Saturday morning. People are busy.
Morning, yeah.
Unannounced Saturday morning, may I add. It's just like,
Surprise.
hey, we're going. Joey's in the chat
yeah.
says, what? They really do exist. We sure do. We sure do. Adam, not so much. We're undetermined on him. Before we get into anything, make sure you stick around at the end. We'll end this episode, and then 5 minutes later, we're going to start up another one. We have a major announcement. We're going to want you guys to hear that. So, a little tease for you. Jordan, I'm sure some stuff has happened in the last 3 weeks.
Oh, my gosh. With the trade deadline just around the corner,
Yeah.
people be moving.
People be moving.
Wide receivers. Wide receivers getting shuffled around to contenders is the name of the game. Or contenders. Loosely. Some contenders, some maybe not.
We'll see.
To me, one of the most intriguing ones, Deontay Johnson leaves Carolina and goes to Baltimore. Jake, I know you love yourself some Deontay Johnson.
I do
Me,
love
not
Deontay
so much.
Johnson. Here's the thing. Since that trade, I've been thinking about it a lot. And one of two things is going to happen. Either he's just going to be super mid for the rest of the season. Because they were talking about how he still might be behind Rashad Bateman.
Yeah.
I don't see that being that way forever. Like, I think maybe this week. But you don't trade for someone so that they can sit behind Rashad Bateman.
I mean, you do for like a 6th-round pick and a 7th-round swap.
I don't know. I would assume that he's going to be the number 2 there. I don't think it really hurts anybody. Like, it doesn't hurt Zay Flowers. I mean, Zay Flowers has been good, but I foresee him still being good. But I think it helps Lamar a little. This is still going to be a run-first offense. Derrick Henry has been fantasy MVP so far this year. Just a monster. I don't think it's going to affect anything there. Derrick Henry's been really good, though.
Sure has.
Like, it's been oh, man, 3 quarters of bad, he only has 45 yards, and then just one run. It's like 89 yards and a touchdown. You're like, oh, okay.
80 yards and a touchdown. That's a good fantasy day for anyone, just on one run.
Jeez. What do you think of it?
I love it for the sport.
Yeah.
Like, I'm excited about that. I think it's a great football move. Fantasy-wise, I guess I should say this. Fantasy-wise, I like it for Lamar. I also like it for Deontay Johnson, who was just suffering in Carolina. Like, they got nothing going.
I got to say, though, he was eaten with Andy Dalton. Here's the thing. If Bryce Young is indeed going to be coming back here as the starter, that's going to kill Deontay Johnson. So he got out of there at the perfect time.
Mm-hmm. I just don't – I wouldn't say it, moves Deontay Johnson to – maybe fringe wide receiver 2 and
I think
low-end wide
receiver
2.
3
I just still think he's 750 yards, couple touchdowns,
I think wide receiver 3 is what you're looking at. I think that's the floor. And then you'll get weeks that are wide receiver 2s. Is he a weekly flex play?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, and matchup dependent. I would say let's see how this weekend goes.
Yeah, so like I have him in our home league. I'm starting someone else this week just because I want to, I want to see it first. So
Yeah. And they're playing the Broncos, who are
a good defense.
no joke
Yeah.
on defense.
Jamie's in the chat. He says, "What's up? How you doing?" Joey says, "Bucks need a receiver," because I'm sure we'll talk about that in a sec.
Yep.
Cooper Kupp, Adam Thielen, possible. I like those. I think Adam Thielen's more likely.
Yeah. Panthers are selling. They're sellers right now.
Which why wouldn't you be?
Other trades, Jake.
Yeah.
DeAndre Hopkins moves from the Titans to the Chiefs. The rich get richer.
If you say so. DeAndre
What do you
Hopkins
mean if
is
you say
a
so?
husk. A husk of what he was.
You're
Sure.
better than an injured Juju, though.
That's true. That.
Yeah.
We'll
Or
look,
Justin
we'll look
Watson,
back on
whoever's
this.
there
We'll look
now.
back on this year and be like, remember that one game when Juju Smith had like 90 yards and 8 catches?
Yeah, it's like, what? Yeah.
I think it helps Xavier Worthy. I think somewhat, but I don't know. What are you more excited about, DeAndre Hopkins or Deontay Johnson? I think it's Hopkins
Fantasy?
a little, but yeah,
Deontay Johnson.
I think you're going to see Hopkins excel in the playoffs. That's when you're going to see it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You traded for him for the playoff run.
Correct.
That's why you traded for DeAndre Hopkins.
Because Patrick Mahomes has been bad this year in fantasy.
Easy.
In fantasy,
Easy.
he is not.
You might-
He is not a quarterback one.
Actually, let's look where he is.
I can tell you I'm going to guess 16. I think that's right where he's at. I think there's no other quarterback.
Oh, no.
What was it?
No. 21.
See?
21.
There's a
Patrick.
legit conversation of should you start Joe Flacco or Patrick Mahomes in fantasy? That is a legit question.
I hate that question.
And it's terrible.
And I'm going to start Patrick Mahomes every time.
Oh yeah, you die on
Even
that
if
hill.
it's dumb, I'm starting him every single week.
If you're going to lose, you do that. You die on that hill. So,
If I'm going to lose, I'm losing with Patrick Mahomes in my lineup. That's
Yep.
how I feel. Yep. Two other trades that are worth talking about. Amari Cooper to the Bills, which I love.
oh yeah.
I love that one. Of these, and then we'll get to the next one, which is Devontae Adams to the Jets. Of those four, Amari Cooper to the Bills is my favorite.
Is it?
Yep.
Yeah, I'll agree. Sure. I think like it's not the most intriguing one in my opinion, but I mean like, Lamar getting a new receiver I think is interesting. Fantasy wise, I like Amari Cooper going there. I mean, I think that's the best play. We haven't seen it quite yet. He scored a touchdown in his first game last week. He wasn't as good. It's going to take time, but we've talked about how we think Amari Cooper is elite, and he doesn't get the love.
yeah.
He doesn't
In
get
fantasy
he
football,
doesn't
he's
get the love. So I think come fantasy playoff time is when he's really going to start feasting, because do you have more news or can we get into Devontae?
Let's get into Devontae. Yeah.
All right, 'cause
Other ones
that-
are injury stuff, which
that-
I do want to talk about, but
all
those
right.
are the big trades.
Yeah, listen, let me tell you let me give you a little thing here. When you break up with your girlfriend and you go find a different girlfriend and you're like, this isn't working, you don't leave and go back to your old girlfriend. You broke up for a reason. I hate the Jets so much. I hate Aaron Rodgers. Yes, this past Thursday, he played fine, scored a tutty. That was good, right? Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams for the first time in like 5 years. Cool. I don't want any part of the Jets at all.
I'll disagree.
Okay,
Listen,
go ahead.
I like Devontae Adams in New York way better than I like him in Vegas.
Well, sure.
So I totally agree with you. It's like the Jets still not a good organization, not going to do well. They're not going to make the playoffs. I don't love any of their players on fantasy other than Garrett Wilson.
Which
from,
by
like,
the
any
way,
consistency.
just a dirty catch on Thursday.
So cool.
God, it was so
cool.
good.
But Devontae Adams had bad quarterback play. Then he was sitting out basically like healthy scratches from games. Like I like that he is able to play and he's a great, like you could matchup dependent flex play. That's better. That's better for him.
He gained fantasy value.
Exactly. Yep.
Because if anything, he is going to Aaron Rodgers is going to just feed him.
Yep. I mean, like he did.
Like
Like he did on Thursday.
Yeah.
So
So I don't know. I
Football wise, I'm like,
God.
ugh.
Just
Yeah. All right.
Uh,
let me tell you some other news.
Joey says Garrett Wilson catch better than the OBJ catch.
That's what I've been hearing on talk shows and stuff. That's
It is
what the
not.
media's talking about.
It is
But
not.
I would agree. It's not better. Yeah.
Pass interference during the OBJ catch, and he still caught it. So
Yeah.
there you go.
But
Love
the fact
me some
that we're
Odell.
even talking about it shows how cool the
Yeah,
catch was.
yeah.
Jake, let me tell you some other news here, injury-wise. Stephon Diggs out for the season. Ayuk out for the season. Christian Kirk broke his collarbone, going to miss a couple of games.
No, last time I read, he's out for like a very long time.
Oh, he is? Okay, so out for an extended period of time. So we're looking at, I mean, those are some big injuries. And obviously the Texans, Nico Collins is already on IR. Stephon Diggs now done for the season. Ayuk out for the season, which, by the way, that's why you get paid. That's why you hold out.
Correct.
Yeah.
Which is a nice transition into what Joey said is the Cincy needs to sell T. Higgins. Absolutely, they need to sell
Sure
T.
does,
Higgins.
yeah.
Because
I don't think it'll happen, though. I think that the Bengals still think they got a puncher's chance here.
Correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
so they won't. And the trade deadline fast approaching.
Fast approaching.
Yeah. One other piece of news I want to talk about, Jake.
Yes.
So Anthony Richardson for the Colts leaves the game. Not injured. He's just a little tired, a little gassed. Needs a breather. So he leaves for play. News then comes out, they're benching him for Joe Flacco.
But not because of that.
It's because of that. Yeah.
God, it's
What are
not...
your thoughts about that?
So I was reading some stuff, listening to stuff. Apparently he's like a really nice kid. Like he's he's got a good head on his shoulders. He just is a bit naive. The way that I was reading is he just tells it how it is. Oh, I came out because I was tired. Which is a perfectly fine sentence, It's just you can't do that when you're the quarterback. You just can't do it. I don't know what the Colts are doing. Honestly. It is such a bad idea. This whole thing is in my opinion, and it starts all the way to this offseason, right? Bringing in Joe Flacco was a bad thing to do for the Colts. Because Joe Flacco wants to play. He just won comeback player of the year. He picked a place that he thought, man, this starting quarterback might be bad enough that I can play. So you have a guy who's, I'm assuming he was still helping Anthony Richardson learn and all that. I like to think of the good in people, right? But we don't know that. Like that's not necessarily true. I just watched a video where Johnny Manziel was talking about how was it Brandon Weeden or one of the guys back there refused to help him at all. So you bring Richardson in. Remember, he started 13 games in college. This man has not started 20 games. Gets hurt, comes back. He's 21. Like, he's so young. It's like NFL teams are so quick to just give up. Like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, he's played not even 10 games in the NFL, and you're just like, we're done. The Panthers just did it with Bryce Young, and now Bryce Young's starting again. Does anyone think that's going to go well? They're like, oh, we're going to have him sit so he can reset. That's not a thing. That's not a thing people do. They're probably pissed. If I were the Colts, I'm playing Anthony Richardson. I would have brought some other person in to back him up because we know Joe Flacco was going to play well when he came in, right? Which creates this problem.
I'll only disagree, and it's because about the Joe Flacco thing is because Anthony Richardson got hurt, and so you would want kind of a top tier backup, knowing that there's like a potential injury history there, and I mean, and that's why Joe Flacco even got playtime this year was because Anthony Richardson was banged up. So I hear what you're saying.
There are plenty of backups you could bring in that would be there to mentor versus, oh, I want to play right now.
Yeah.
Jarrett Stidham.
Jarrett the Jet.
That's what I'm thinking. A guy you could throw in there.
Yeah.
Case Keenum isn't looking to be the guy. Mitch Trubisky. Like guys like, they're not trying to take it. But then if I say Gardner Minshew, you don't want to bring him. He was already there. You didn't want to keep him because he wanted to play. Jameis Winston. You didn't want to bring him in because you knew he wants to play. A guy, you know who they should have brought in? Tyrod Taylor. That would have been perfect.
Of course. Yeah.
It would have been perfect. Instead,
But,
you brought
yeah, I totally agree
you
with
brought
you
a
about-
guy in who doesn't even fit the offense you're running.
Yeah.
Flacco's good enough that he's going to make it work, and but you have to change the game plan.
Yeah.
So
I think I totally agree with you on the point of why, like, you brought him in because he was raw and you wanted to develop him.
So
and then you
develop him.
abandon him because he's raw and he needs development. It's
Yeah.
like, then what are you even doing? And like the coach's seat, I would argue, is safe. Like the coach is not on the
Yeah.
hot seat at all. So even if it takes the whole year to, develop Anthony Richardson,
there hasn't been a quarterback in the draft who's this raw in a hot minute.
yeah,
Like,
and you
and if
drafted him
you
with the top
took-
10
yeah,
pick.
you
Like
took-
just pick 5 or
he was-
something.
yeah.
Yeah. Like what are you doing?
Joey's in the chat. He says Richardson's not an NFL caliber quarterback. I disagree. That man has an arm like nobody's business. He just has to learn to be more. His decision making has to be better. He's inaccurate. That's the problem. I watched a fair share of Colts games. It's not that he's inaccurate just because he can't throw it. It's just he's seeing things late, or he's, it's really timing. It's timing.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, I'm just missing him by 100 feet. So I don't know. I don't know what we're doing, because in 4 weeks are we just going to see him again? And if that's the case, it's like, why? Why?
What are we doing?
What are we
As
doing?
someone who has him on my fantasy team, I'm very frustrated by this.
Yeah.
Because I have Patrick Mahomes and Anthony Richardson
Oh, yeah.
every week. What do I do? What do I do with that?
Yeah.
Anyway, I digress. We've talked a lot about the Colts. Let's move on, Jake.
Okay.
Let's talk about the week ahead.
All right, let's talk about this Thursday game that we just played. That's not the one. I don't have the graphic. The Colts you didn't make one. You didn't make one for Thursday.
Yes, I did.
No, you didn't. Jeez, what was on
The
it? Who was on
graphic
it?
has everything on it.
Who was on
Look
it?
it again. Are you looking at the graphic?
Yeah, I'm looking at the graphic. I have it up.
so
It's right
beautiful,
here.
Isn't it?
Tank Dell. We didn't share that with anyone, unfortunately, but that was a good call. He played pretty well.
He feasted.
Guys we like this week, though, Bo Nix versus the Ravens. Why do you like him?
Oh, I think the Ravens' defense is a little bit underrated. I think we remember that the Ravens are.
You mean
a good
they're
defense.
overrated? Overrated.
Sorry, they're overrated.
Yeah.
Exactly right. They're underperforming. They're overrated. We remember back, years in the past where the Ravens have a good defense, and I think we kind of like ride that into this year where we're like, oh yeah, the Ravens, they're a good defense, but they're playing terribly. Bo Nix magically finding some type of rhythm.
He's the most accurate rookie quarterback right now.
Wow. But I think we're looking at something like this that could end up looking a little out-esque between these two teams.
Say that again. You got a little glitchy. Could look what?
Oh, I'm saying we could end up with a little, not really a true shootout, but we could be looking at 20, like over 20 points for both these teams this week. So anyway, like Bo Nix again, reminder, these aren't those guys that you're for sure starting. Lock them in. These are a little more of those long shots, guys that you would need to start. Bye weeks obviously are a big impact to your injuries. We just talked about trades, big things.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's
It's
why-
like, oh, you drafted Anthony Richardson. Your backup is Tua. There's a conversation to be had about, do you want to start Tua or Bo Nix this week? I'm in our home league. I'm sitting here wondering if I should start Joe Flacco or Tua. So these are these types of conversations we can have. Speaking of the Colts, we got Josh Downs versus the Vikings. Josh Downs has been a wide receiver 2 when Joe Flacco plays.
Joe Flacco loves Josh
him.
Downs. Loves.
So
I have
many
some
drag
stats here,
routes.
Jake. I have some stats here. Last 2 games with Joe Flacco as the quarterback, 9 receptions, 70 yards versus the Jags. So again, not huge yardage totals, but he's getting peppered with targets.
Yeah.
And then the game before that against the Titans was 7 receptions, 66 yards, and a touchdown. Just now they got a whole week of prep. This isn't just I love it. I love
Yeah.
it.
Oh, we love Josh Downs. Plug him into the flex. Get wide receiver 2 numbers out of him. For as long as Joe Flacco's in, I think that Josh Downs should be starting in a lot of leagues, especially with injuries and all that sort of. Jamie in the chat, who's over at the Going for 2 podcast, they have their own rankings as well, says that he has Bo Nix at quarterback 9. Ravens have allowed the 3rd most points to quarterbacks, and he's got Josh Downs in the top 15. So
Yeah.
he's in agreement. Love those 2 guys today. Kate Otten. So we're looking at tight ends. Tight ends suck, except unless it's National Tight End Day, apparently, like last week. So we're looking where's your touchdown upside? Who's getting targets? Obviously there's the top end guys. Your Trey McBrides, your Travis Kelce, who's played well last week. Your George Kittle,
Tucker Kraft.
your Tucker Kraft, love that one.
Yep.
Kate Otten for the Bucks. Listen, they don't have any receivers. They're out of receivers.
Yeah, that was another thing we should have talked about. Chris
Yeah.
Godwin out for the year. Mike Evans banged up.
Yeah, Mike Evans might not be back till fantasy playoff time.
Yeah.
So, someone has to catch balls there. And Kate Otten, 2 tutties last week. So, obviously,
that.
Baker's checking it down. Baker's always been decent when it comes to throwing to his tight ends, a la David Njoku for a while. Oh my gosh. Forgot about something we haven't talked about. I'll finish. I'm sorry. Do you have anything else you want to say about Kate Otten?
Nope.
All right, great. It says both people in the chat said Evans will be back by week 12. So Bucks have a bye week 11. So,
Okay. So
maybe
a couple
I
more
was a little
weeks
wrong
without
on
him.
that.
But in the meantime, I like Kate Otten.
We talked about Jameis Winston. Why is Jameis Winston starting, Jordan?
Oh, I didn't even put that in. We should have led with that. That's your favorite topic. Yeah, Deshaun Watson's done for the year. Which,
Why?
Jake, don't gloat.
I'm not going to.
Someone gets injured, ruptures an Achilles.
We
you can't
do
gloat,
not.
But I am happy James is in.
The Cleveland Browns fans booed him after he tore his Achilles. Terrible injury. We saw Aaron Rodgers just dealt with it. It's going to be hard to. It's a hard comeback. It'll be interesting to see what the Browns do. Right. Tearing your Achilles. We're past the midway point, or right around the midway point of the season. I don't think he won't be ready by the beginning of next year. So
Yeah, probably not.
it'll be interesting to see what the Browns do in regards to Deshaun Watson. We don't laugh and we don't smile when people get hurt because we are good people. All I'll say is it seems as though karma is a real thing, huh?
Gee.
Oh, stop.
You're just saying we don't laugh and we don't make fun of people.
I don't. I'm just.
Someone and
Oh
laugh.
no. Let me rephrase. I'm sorry. You're right. I shouldn't have said that. I'm sorry. Deshaun Watson got hurt, and we don't laugh about it. Period. Next sentence. Jordan, do you believe in karma? Period. Next sentence. Opposite.
From a fantasy perspective, you saw the Browns turned what seems to be a corner. Our waiver wire pickup of the week and should be
I'll throw it up
everybody's
there.
is Cedric Tillman. So no Amari Cooper now. There needs to be someone that offense is going to get kind of supercharged. I think Kevin Stefanski is a great coach. I think he's a great play
Yes.
caller. I think they have a great offensive mind there. So I think that Jameis Winston will elevate the team, and it's already shown. I think we talked about Deshaun Watson being bad vibes.
Jameis Winston's great for fantasy.
But I think Jameis Winston breathes new life into that team. So
Yes.
I
Quarterback-
don't think they're going to be like great, but I think they'll be competitive,
I would.
and I
Agree.
think they'll field more fantasy relevant players.
I
going
would.
forward.
I would agree.
I think he's going to
Breaking
throw
news.
40 interceptions.
Breaking news as well. Jordan Love got hurt this past week. Hurt his groin.
Yep.
Being reported that he is expected to play this Sunday
Come on.
against the Lions, which is a big game for us Packer fans. So there you go, guys. There you have it for Week 9. It's already Week 9. I'm sad. It's already Week 9.
Yeah, the season's flying by.
It's flying by.
Flying by. Yeah.
You can follow us all on Instagram, all the places, Facebook, Next Step Fantasy Football Podcast. Appreciate you guys hanging around. Stick around. We're going to go live here in the next 5 minutes for a major announcement. So we want you guys to be there, and then we'll make sure to post something about that as well on the Facebook page and on all our social medias. So, Jordan, unless there's anything else you want to say.
No, go get those wins, and I hope your fantasy teams win and your favorite team wins. That is what I
that's
wish
so
upon you.
nice.
Unless you're a Lions fan, and then I hope they lose.
Oh, perfect. All right, guys, we'll be right back. Take